Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to TD Place. Bon après-midi et bienvenue à la Place TD. A special welcome to everyone joining us online from around the world for today's announcement. Salutations spéciales à tous ceux qui nous écoutent en ligne partout à travers le monde. I'm Graham Ivory, Director of Communications with the Ottawa Sports and Entertainment Group, parent company of Ottawa Fury FC and host of TSN 1200 soccer magazine show Corner Kicks. I would like to introduce our head table this afternoon, the General Secretary of Canada Soccer, the Secrétaire Général du Soccer Canada, Peter Montopoli, a man who needs no introduction, the captain of Ottawa Fury FC and Canada's men's national team, Julian de Guzman, and the General Manager and Head Coach of Ottawa Fury FC, le Directeur Général et Entraîneur-Chef de Fury FC d'Ottawa, Mr. Paul Dalglish. Before we hear from Julian and our guest today, I would like to direct your attention to the TVs for a special video presentation.
This is what I live for now. I've dedicated my entire career to Canada. This is the love of my life. You know, this is my number one priority.
One word in that video that stood out for me, and that was trailblazer. And now we will hear from the trailblazer for Canadian soccer, Julian de Guzman.
Thank you guys. Today's a special day, and never imagined I would come across a moment like this. Thought it would last forever for the rest of my life, but it's never easy to let go of something you love so much. This sport has given me so many wonderful memories that will last me for the rest of my life. Since I left home in 97 to follow my dream and pursue a career overseas. Sorry. Football has been the love of my life. It has given me a ticket to explore many countries, different cultures, played against teams I never imagined I would ever play against, and always dreamt of playing against these teams growing up as a child. And it was happening so fast. I had to promise myself that I would swap jerseys after every game. And in doing so, I wasn't sure if this was real, if it was a dream, but now I go back to these jerseys and I look at them, and it makes me proud and honored as a Canadian to do something the unthinkable. And reading names such as Eto'o, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, guys I've watched on TV growing up, and you play against them, it's mind-blowing. And I promised myself I wouldn't cry today. I don't know why, but just going looking at that video, it's I really can't believe this is happening today. So I've always looked back and have such a big thank you for all the players, coaches that I've gone to battle with. These are the guys who brought me up and brought out the best out of me on the pitch, off the pitch. From the time growing up in Scarborough, France, Bundesliga, La Liga, MLS, and now back home to the nation's capital. I thank you all, those players, those coaches. I thank you to all the organizations and the clubs I've been a part of. It was a great honor to proudly represent each of the 10 teams I played for. A massive thank you to all the fans who have supported me, the colors I've represented throughout this incredible journey. Whether it was playing in front of 100,000 at Camp Nou, to sold-out stadiums at BC Place singing the national anthem. Moments like that, I live and die for. It has given me happiness and freedom from all the blood, sweat, and tears I've invested into this game. And the end result, soccer has saved my life. Now that I've completed this chapter, I celebrate a new beginning. I'm grateful to remain with Ottawa Fury. To join Paul Dalglish and the coaching staff brings great joy. I thank you to all the owners of OSEC for making a Canadian dream come true. And speaking of Canadian dreams coming true, I also thank you, the CSA, an organization I passionately took pride in serving half of my life. The 89 times I've represented this nation will cherish every moment dedicated and sacrifice to make this dream come true. I look forward to continuing this dream, to stay alive through my new role, and I dedicate this to Canada, to Ottawa, and the future. God bless you all. To my family from the bottom of my heart, and I thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Before we hear from our two guests, just a few questions for Julian. Julian, starting with how you got to where you are today. You started playing minor soccer in Scarborough. How did you make that jump to Marseille? And when you look back on your career, did you ever imagine this would happen when you left home to go to France?
Never. Growing up in Scarborough, I had one goal, and that was to be an example to my younger brother. And it meant making sacrifices. I had to leave my family behind, dropped out of school in grade 10, and ventured off into an unknown world that gave me a new life. So at 15, I didn't make it, going to Holland. And while I was there in Holland, I had a chance to meet guys like Van Gaal, had a chance to visit Dream Academy Centers at Ajax, and came back, shared the stories with my brother. I knew what I needed to improve on. I had a second chance to go to France. And it was through Francois Glassman, Charlie Blanco were the guys who had arranged that trip to me to go to France. But even arriving to France in Marseille, no one really knew who I was. And I was lucky enough just to get a couple of training sessions with the team, which turned out to be a 2-week tryout. And eventually, they realized that I was worth spending at least a season with. So they signed my amateur contract with Marseille, and that's when the struggle began. 3 years of going through what I went through in France was probably the hardest. I was a Canadian. No one knew who I was, but it took one coach who actually believed in me, Bernard Cassoni. And Cassoni, he was the only guy that trusted me and saw something in me and wanted me to follow the likes of a guy like Claude Makelele at the time. So that was my teaching of football. That was my upbringing. And I always told myself, any type of doubters or non-believers, the only person that wouldn't allow anything for me to succeed would be me. It wouldn't be anyone else. So I trusted myself. I've done my research on a lot of Canadians who've been overseas and never made it during my era. And I told myself, I have to be different, and I have to trust myself, and I know what I believe in. And myself and also my brother making it. So me making it for the 3 years and being told by George Proust that my time was done in France and it's time for me to go home because Canadians are not good enough to make it in Europe. I was fortunate enough to get a call up with the national team around the same time. And then got the call up to a camp in Duisburg for the under 18s, under 19s at the time. And did well in that camp and then got picked up by Saarbrücken. And then around that same time, my brother at the age of 12 had this chance to go to Feyenoord. And for me, that was the major step going forward for myself and my brother. And everything just happened so fast at that point. Got called to the under-20 World Cup national team, played in Argentina. Year after that, or that same season, I joined the first team for the second division team in Bundesliga, Saarbrücken. And then before you know it, the year after that, I'm in the Bundesliga at the age of 21. And then I believe at that point on, from what I experienced and what I understand, the moment you sign your first contract till your 30s, you're almost in a deep sleep. It's hard to even realize what's going on, and that's why I mentioned I had to collect jerseys to really remember these moments. We didn't have social media those days, save pictures. Like, I had to keep these jerseys to remember and remind myself this actually happened, playing against Ballack, FC Bayern Munich, playing against, Bremen. Stalteri was an idol for me, Hargreaves, Kevin McKenna. Like, these were gods for me, and I wanted to be a part of that as a Canadian as well. And I did it.
The video highlighted many accomplishments of your international and professional career. If possible, what are just perhaps a couple of the biggest memories that you can remember?
It would have to be making my debut for the national team in the Gold Cup. It was like a last-minute call-up. I remember Kush got injured, and I got called up last minute, and I arrived to camp. And the jersey I had worn, which is number 16, it still had Kush's name on it. But they put my name over it, and it was like an extra large for a small guy. But for me, it was an amazing dream to just get that jersey and just see my name with the Canadian crest on it. And then getting, the debut against Martinique. To this day, I've said it, the moment I stepped on the pitch was the best thing ever. It was better than an orgasm. And I still recall when it happened. I was still a virgin, so I didn't know. that's exactly one of the things I preach to a lot of the young guys, and that's one of the things I sacrificed was that type of lifestyle, that type of temptation. I've put that aside and I've told myself that if I have to make it, I can't do what everyone else is doing. The usual, the good times, the fun times at a young age. It has to hurt. It has to be painful. It has to suffer. You have to suffer. And that's a problem I feel the younger generation doesn't understand what suffering means. And I was willing to put myself through that for football. And that's how much I love the sport. And that's one of the major moments I've experienced in my career was making that debut for the national team. It was worth it.
I swear to God, we didn't script that at all. Julian, you talk about playing for Canada being the love of your life. Talk about how you've seen the sport in this country grow and the direction that it's now going in.
I'm happy and I'm sad. I'm happy the fact that I come home now and we have professional teams. I never had professional teams growing up, so I was forced to leave everything behind and go overseas, or you go for the scholarship route. Today, it's a lot different for Canadians. The options are there, are available on the professional level in our country. And coming back home to one of, or if not the best country in the world, in terms of living on a grand scale, but having soccer there on a professional level, I'm amazed. And playing for my hometown of TFC was a huge dream come true. And coming to the capital city now, another professional team in Canada, just to play for a Canadian club team as a Canadian, I think a lot of Canadians could explain what that means for them. It's a huge blessing. I'm sad on the other side where it's taken quite some time for it to happen, but obviously, steps forward are the things that we have to continue to focus on. The positives, the talents that continue to come out of this country, and being able to have clubs and academies available for them. And not too long ago, I was with Tony Fonseca, Stalteri, and Ante Jazic at an under-15 camp, and seeing the academy kids that are there at the age of 15 playing for the national team. That was actually very moving for me, and it's a dream come true as well for me to be there and witness that, knowing that when I was growing up, you never had an under-15 national team. It was under-17 or maybe under-15, 17 provincials and maybe the national team. But it was great to see that, and I think that's the direction we need to continue to move towards, and that's something I want to invest in now that I'm on this side as an assistant coach, and continue to help it grow and push forward that movement for not just Ottawa, but for the entire nation itself.
I think on behalf of everyone here and all Canadians, Julian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would now like to invite Peter Montopoli, General Secretary of Canada Soccer, to share a few words.
Thank you, Graham. Maybe before I begin, based on that video, Julian, we should all be lucky to have your same hairstylist. I'd also like to welcome two members of our men's national team and current members of the Ottawa Fury Football Club, Jamar Dixon and Carla Hayworth. Thank you for joining us and being our next generation. On behalf of Canada Soccer, I'd like to congratulate you, Julian, for an outstanding career, not only in club, but at international. What you've meant to Canada, what you've done for Canada and Canadian soccer, 89 appearances, 89 caps, the most ever in Canadian history. Of the 89, 84 starts, and of the 84 starts, 25 wearing a captain's armband. If we all think about what that means, representing our country abroad, for all of you that maybe have seen our team play abroad, and what Julian did touch upon is how difficult it is, and he was our leader through those years. We remember his performance in 2007 CONCACAF Gold Cup, where Canada reached the semifinal, and Julian was the tournament MVP. I can't recall the last time a member of a semi-finalist was an MVP. That's how outstanding his performance was. He was a Canadian Player of the Year in 2008, and the only Canadian to play in 6 CONCACAF Gold Cups. I hope they were good memories, by the way. 6 CONCACAF Gold Cups, and he was an all-star in 3 of those 6 tournaments. We talked about him being a trailblazer, especially in Europe, and the first Canadian to play in Spain's La Liga. Now, we look at La Liga in a certain way today because of the players that are there. They also had tremendous players when Julian was there. And when he was there, he was the club MVP for his team. And so I'll think about that type of distinction and how Julian talked about how difficult it was being a Canadian. And I think what I took from what Julian was saying is he did it. He did it for himself. He did it for his family. And he did it for all of us here as Canadians, and we're extremely proud of what you mean to Canadian soccer. I'd like to highlight also John Pugh, Paul, Bernie, and Mark for bringing Julian to the nation's capital in winning the 2015 NESL fall season title under your leadership. But now we embark on a new phase. I personally asked Julian to be part of that under 15 identification camp that he was there with our technical staff, and to act as a mentor for our young players. Because I believe in Julian, and I believe in what he's done for our country and for Canadian soccer. And on behalf of Canadian soccer, thank you very much. And we have 2 gifts. You've talked about wearing the jersey in the first match, and ironically enough, we have a picture of that and a picture of your last match in a Canadian jersey. So thank you very much, Julian.
I would now like to invite Paul Dalglish, General Manager and Head Coach of Ottawa Fury FC, to make an announcement and share a few words.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all heard now all the incredible achievements that Julian's achieved, and one of the things that strikes me is that he's done it with such humility. Most of the people that are working with Julian on a daily basis within OSEG don't understand or have no concept of what this guy's achieved, because he deals with himself and what he's achieved with such humility. And what I would like to do just now, before I say my piece, I would like everybody to stand and applaud Julian and just let him have his moment to show what he means to everybody in this organisation, because he'd never asked for it for himself. I'll get to football in a minute, but more important than football is the man himself, one of the true class acts that has ever played the game. And it's an absolute honour for me to work alongside him this year, and an absolute honour for our players to learn from somebody like this. If you ever want to see a picture of how to conduct yourself as a professional athlete, this is the guy here that you want to emulate. For me, I want to try and put things into perspective. You heard what Julian's achieved. I just want to try and put things in perspective for maybe people that don't quite understand. Julian has achieved what he's achieved in the world game. This is the most popular game in the world. This is the most competitive game in the world. What he's achieved would be like me as a Scotsman coming to Ottawa and captaining the Sens. It's not going to happen. But this is a guy who came from a country that nobody gave any credibility to in soccer, that went on to play in 2 of the 5 biggest leagues in the world, Julian de Guzman's played in the Bundesliga over 50 times. He's played nearly 100 games in La Liga. To put things into perspective, Canada never qualified for the last Gold Cup. Julian de Guzman's played in 6. He's won MVP of the tournament. But these are things he doesn't tell you. These are things that he just keeps to himself because he's very Canadian, as you can tell by the way he's... And this is... We've been going through meetings at this moment in time about how we establish a team culture at Ottawa Fury. We're a young organisation. And I don't know why I put so much trouble into it. I should just show a picture of Julian. Because this is Canada soccer. This is... We work hard. We don't need any praise for it. But we're really, really good at what we do. And this is everything we want to be at Ottawa Fury. Just want to go on to his comment about the orgasm. And I just want to say, Julian, that I hope there's never been 100,000 people watching have one of them. But I never know. Maybe you kept that quiet as well. I don't know. So just the final thing, final couple of comments from me. One is on behalf of everybody at OSEG and Ottawa Fury. A big thank you, Julian, just for being you as a person. Everybody knows what you did as a player, but I think as a person, you mean the world to us. And we're delighted to have you stick around with us for another couple of years. And I can't wait to learn from you and work alongside you going forward. And there's a saying that we have in England that in football we say it's better to be a has-been than a never has-been. And Julian de Guzman, you definitely have been. Thank you.